The window to evacuate is closing, and we are now just hours away from Hurricane Milton making landfall along Florida's Gulf Coast. Officials say this could be the most catastrophic storm to hit the Tampa area in more than a century. This is a live look at the radar as Milton churns its way through the Gulf of Mexico. The storm has fluctuated in strength throughout the morning, but it is expected to hold its intensity and make landfall later tonight as a Category 3 storm. As much as 15 feet of storm surge is expected in some areas along Florida's west coast. Milton will be the second potentially deadly storm to hit Florida in as many weeks. Many communities are still reeling in the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, which killed at least 238 people. Helene also decimated some areas, inundating towns with floodwaters, downing power lines, and leaving debris scattered in the streets. Now, officials have expressed concerns that remnants from Helene could become projectiles once Milton makes landfall. This dramatic video I want to show you now from the International Space Station demonstrates the incredible size of Milton. You see it swirling there as it approaches Florida's Gulf Coast. And it has already sparked tornadoes in the southern part of the state. The National Weather Service reported at least 2 so far since this morning. The state's also expected to warm up throughout the afternoon, and that is worrying because the heat can fuel severe thunderstorms in the area. Governor Ron DeSantis has issued a state of emergency in more than 50 of the state's 67 counties. He says there is still time to evacuate, but that time is limited. The state's airports are closed as millions of Floridians are urged to leave their homes in search of safety. And President Biden is urging everyone to heed the warnings.
To save lives and livelihoods, I want to emphasize a few things. First, many communities in Hurricane Milton's path do not have a moment to catch their breath between Helene and Milton. 2 historic storms in 2 weeks. I want to thank everyone who has followed local guidance to evacuate ahead of landfall. I know it's really tough leaving behind your home, your belongings, everything you own. But I urge everyone in Hurricane Milton's path to follow all safety instructions as we head to the next 24 hours. It's literally a matter of life and death.
CBS News meteorologist and hurricane expert David Yeomans is tracking the storm for us. He's there in Chicago watching all of these different models for us. So, David, the biggest concern appears to be this potentially catastrophic storm surge. Remind our viewers exactly what that means, why it's so dangerous, and what specifically officials are predicting.
Lana, storm surge is the rise in the ocean level from a hurricane. And remember, it's not wind, it is indeed water that is the big killer with these storms. Live behind me, this is a view of the Sanibel Causeway near Fort Myers. You remember that bridge was destroyed in some areas just 2 years ago by Hurricane Ian. Here's the view from space. You saw from the International Space Station. This is our best high-resolution satellite up above the Gulf, looking at Hurricane Milton as it beelines for the Tampa and Sarasota area. We just got a brand new update, and the storm has continued to, we'll call it weaken. It's still a powerful Category 4. Winds just jumped down from 145 to 130 miles per hour. This storm may not weaken much more before landfall. Outer rain bands already producing a handful of tornado warnings. Now 3 confirmed touchdowns and counting in South and Central Florida. And notice the hurricane force winds in the orange and red are still offshore, but the yellow, that shows tropical storm force winds already on the west coast of Florida. You need to be in your storm shelter right now and stay in that safe place until the storm has passed. Here's the latest track from the Hurricane Center. Likely a high-end Category 3, low-end 4. Significant hurricane, one of the strongest to ever hit the west central coast of Florida. Landfall most likely between Tampa Bay and Fort Myers, possibly right over places like Sarasota. It maintains hurricane intensity after that, bringing hurricane-force winds to Orlando and even some storm surge flooding to the east coast of Florida. Storm surge is a big concern, and wherever this eye makes landfall and just to the south, 10 to 15 feet of ocean level rise is expected. Lana, back to you.
Well, David, I want to follow up on a couple of these points because, as you rightfully note, people may be listening to us in their protective areas, watching us from safety. And part of what is concerning about this is not merely the tornadoes and the storm surge, but that it's expected to maintain hurricane status after hitting ground. And oftentimes we see that once it hits ground, it weakens. But Milton is kind of a different animal. Talk us through what people need to be aware of as they're hunkering down right now.
That's a very good point, Lana. I'm glad you touch on it. This storm is moving quickly, and sometimes there's an effect over Florida, namely a very swampy territory called the Brown Ocean. Basically, the hurricane needs the ocean to survive. When it moves over land, it dies. But when hurricanes move over Florida, especially when they do so quickly, they kind of think they're still over the ocean. All that swampiness and moisture in the land that it's moving over means this storm will maintain hurricane intensity all the way over Orlando, all the way over Daytona Beach, and into the open Atlantic from there. So even inland areas, we're talking Category 1 winds likely in places like Orlando. And sure, you don't have to deal with the storm surge ocean flooding in inland Florida Peninsula, but we have 18 inches of rain that may fall in those same areas, a rare high risk of flooding, the same risk area that we saw in North Carolina with Hurricane Helene.
All right, David Yeomans, thank you very much.
You
see right now White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre. She is discussing the hurricane at the press briefing. Let's listen to what they have to say.
Under their leadership, FEMA has provided $344 million in direct assistance to survivors, along with an additional $180 million to ensure our federal partners can carry out their critical recovery work. More than 8,000 federal personnel are deployed, including FEMA disaster survivor assistant teams that are in neighborhoods across the affected states, helping survivors apply for assistance. These personnel across the Southeast, including Florida, will both continue Hurricane Helene recovery efforts and respond to the impacts of Hurricane Milton. As the president has said, we will be there for the communities devastated by the storm for as long as it takes. The president and the vice president received a briefing on the administration's life-saving preparations ahead of Hurricane Milton. The president continues to mobilize a whole of government effort to prepare for Hurricane Milton. Earlier this week, the president quickly approved the state of Florida's and the Seminole tribe of Florida's request for an emergency declaration pre-Milton landfall. He directed his team to keep working to increase the size and presence of our efforts as we prepare for Milton's landfall. The president spoke directly to Governor DeSantis, Tampa Mayor Castor, Clearwater Mayor Rector, and Pinellas County Chairwoman Peters to make sure we are meeting their needs, and gave them his personal number so they can call him directly. At the president's direction, the administration has been in touch with more than 60 local officials in cities and counties along the likely path of impact to ensure needs are met in advance of the storm. The president gathered his cabinet representing 16 agencies and departments to ensure every corner of the U.S. government is assisting with Helene recovery and preparations for Milton. And at the president's direction, FEMA Administrator Criswell will travel to Florida tonight to join the personnel on the ground and ensure every Floridian gets the help that they need. FEMA is pre-staging a full slate of response capabilities in Florida and the region, including 8 urban search and rescue teams, 3 U.S. Coast Guard swift water rescue teams, 15.6 million meals, 13.9 million liters of water already pre-positioned, an additional 20 million meals and 40 million liters of water ready to deploy as needed. More than 1,000 staff already in the region. And as the president and the vice president have said, any attempts to price gouge Americans, whether at the gas pumps, airport, or hotel counter during this storm, are unacceptable. The Justice Department, FTC, and Consumer Financial Protection Bureau put out a statement warning consumers about those looking to take advantage of natural disasters. The administration will also continue to work out and call out misinformation and conspiracy theories around the storm and federal and state responses. This is wrong, dangerous, and it must stop immediately. You heard the president speak to this just moments ago. Everyone, especially those in positions of power, must do everything they can to encourage survivors to register for assistance, not discourage them by allowing these falsehoods to fester. This storm will be catastrophic. It will be catastrophic. We urge everyone to listen to local officials, and if you are told to evacuate, do so. Please do so immediately. If you can't evacuate or need a safe place to shelter, text shelter and your zip code to 43362 to get a list of open shelters near you. With that, I will turn it over to Administrator Criswell, who is joining us virtually. Thank you so much, Administrator. I know you are incredibly busy today, but thank you for your time. And with that, I'm going to just turn it over to you.
All right, thank you very much, Corrine. So good afternoon, everybody. As you just heard from Corrine, I just had an opportunity to brief President Biden and Vice President Harris on our preparatory actions as we prepare for Hurricane Milton to make landfall in Florida. The entire federal family is leaning forward for Milton's response. And right now, I am in North Carolina, continuing to lead the response and recovery efforts for the impacts to Helene across many states. But I will be traveling this evening to Florida to be with the team that I have there on the ground, as well as with the governor and his team, to make sure that we are working side by side to meet the needs of Floridians as Hurricane Milton passes through the state. I want to deliver a very important message to the people of Florida. This is going to be a catastrophic storm. It is going to be a potentially deadly storm. Please listen to your local officials as they will be giving you the best information about what you need to do where you are located. This storm is going to bring deadly storm surge, intense winds, flooding, but it is already bringing tornadoes across Florida. So if you do get an emergency message on your phone right now for a tornado warning, please seek shelter immediately. My heart goes out to all of the Floridians who have been in the path of many storms. They have had impacts from Hurricane Ian, Hurricane Debbie, Hurricane Idalia, and now Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Milton. Floridians, they're no strangers to these storms, but this one, Hurricane Milton, is expected to be catastrophic. And I promise you that FEMA is ready. FEMA and the entire federal family will be there to provide those immediate life-saving activities and begin to stabilize the incident after the storm passes. And again, I will be there on the ground to assess the impacts and prioritize the movement of federal resources to where the state needs them most. Today, tonight, and tomorrow, these are going to be tough as we watch the impacts move across Florida. And again,
all right, that was FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell, as well as White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre. They're both speaking with reporters at the daily press briefing. Jean-Pierre says that FEMA Administrator Criswell will be traveling to Florida tonight ahead of Hurricane Milton making landfall in the state. She also called out any price gouging efforts by anyone as, quote, unacceptable. And we also heard from Criswell. She urged people to listen to local officials, to evacuate, to heed all local warnings. And a thing that was interesting that stuck out to me was when she said Floridians are no stranger to these types of storms, but, quote, this one is expected to be catastrophic. I want to head over now to Tampa with CBS News national correspondent Jonathan Vigliotti. You are there. Jonathan, I see you getting drenched. I see how much the water behind you is getting rough. Tell us what the situation seems like in Tampa.
Yeah, hey, Lana, the conditions here deteriorating in just the last hour or so. You can see the bay behind me menacing right now. The rain really starting to come down hard as those outer bands really make their way over us. And we've got wind conditions, gusts at times 30 to 40 miles per hour. We're being told that Milton will make landfall just south of us about 8 o'clock tonight. Tampa, home to a population of 3 million people, all of them under a mandatory evacuation order. Many of them have chosen to heed those warnings, but there are some that we have seen and spoken with that have chosen to ride out this storm. The mayor yesterday, I can't stress this enough with what she said, her choice words, if you choose to stay, you will die. She was specifically referencing the lower lying areas with the many threats, including storm surge, anywhere from now an estimate from 10 to possibly 12 feet, depending on where this storm tracks. That can easily cover where I am standing. Then, of course, you have the high winds. They will be sustained at more than 120 miles per hour. And then, of course, all of the rain, possibly 16 inches. That's going to lead to flash flooding. Conditions will be life-threatening. Crews on standby. In terms of evacuations, the window to evacuate is quickly coming to a close. Our crews who have been staged around this area, we're being told that we got to seek higher ground starting in the next hour or so. The governor in a press conference saying, if you can't make it out, and this is a few hours ago, I think it's going to be too dangerous to really start for a long trek. He's telling people to go to local shelters, and that can't be stressed enough. If you're in a low-lying area, if you are in an older home not built to hurricane code, that's going to be a critical resource going to those evacuation centers, because one of the critical messages with the thousands of first responders that are here, they will be taking shelter, and it's unclear how long it will take for them to safely go and provide that life-saving help, Lana.
Absolutely. And when you say something like that quote that you were told that if you're going to stay and you don't listen to the evacuation orders, you will die, it is worth noting for any of our viewers that you and our team out there are listening to all of those evacuation orders and have taken those necessary precautions as well. So, Jonathan, I'm wondering if you have heard from people who have decided to defy the evacuation orders, who have decided to try and ride it out anyway, or does it really seem like people are listening to how dire these warnings are this time?
I think a majority of people are taking this storm seriously. You just had to look at I-75 in the past few days. They had to expand the lanes from 3 to 5 using the shoulders just to make room for all of the volume of traffic as people were escaping. I spoke with one person who left from Tampa to Tallahassee. It's a trip that should normally take about 4 hours. It took her 16 hours. She chose to leave because she stayed during Hurricane Helene and was terrified. Then there are those that I've spoken with that are choosing to stay because they stayed during Helene and they weren't hit hard. But this is a very different storm. Helene made landfall 200 miles north of us. Even so, it packed 7 feet of storm surge. So now double that. This storm, much more dangerous, Lana.
All right, Jonathan, hopefully you and everyone out there will stay safe.